Hey, what's up, guys? It's Brad, and I'm going to keep this video super short and compact. I wanted to talk a little bit about Freudian psychology for a minute. If you guys have seen my content, I've talked about Freudian psychology and sort of giving it a lot of credit and attributing a lot of, I just gave it a lot of credit or credence or whatever. And what I've found is that basically I pretty much reject a lot of Freudian theory now because it turns out that Freud's brother was actually a pedophile. And as I looked into this more, what I found out is that I looked into the motivating factors that I think contribute to Freudianism, and I'm just going to come out and call it. I think that Freud, he had an agenda behind his Freudian theories that was not pure. He was not really necessarily trying to cure people. He brought some very important concepts to light, such as the subconscious mind. He talked about hypnosis. He did a whole bunch of different things, like applying pressure to the skull when he was trying to get people to elicit certain things. He helped push that to the light of the world, but his base ideas surrounding the formation of personality around childhood sexuality is, in my opinion, completely wrong, and it also sexualizes children. He's pushing that on you. As a child, maybe that's a small portion of what you were thinking about, but I refuse to accept this idea that children are formed by their sexual desires for their mother and their curiosity about their penis or their lack of a penis or their father's penis or their brother's penis and their mother's vagina. That's all Freud. Like, he's just obsessed with sex. He's obsessed with this stuff. And the fact that he attributes it to young kids, I have a real problem with it. And that's why Jung, also his protege, his not his underling, but he was his mentee. Freud and Jung had a good relationship, but then Jung eventually broke off from him for that very reason. And that's why a lot of Freud's writings are discredited now, because, it's just, he was channeling something else. I think Freud was probably, he had some underlying motivation that was deeper than what he was talking about. He's very profound, very creative, very intelligent, and certainly parts of what he talks about are correct, I believe. But I think that overall, no. There's no way that we should be thinking about children in any type of sexual light. Yes, kids have genitals, we have genitals, and if you're raising them at some point, they may see you naked or whatever, and you're going to see them naked as you change them. But kids deserve to be protected. They live in the Garden of Eden. They live in a magical world, and it's your job to protect that innocence as long as possible. It's not your job to project and think about, the kids has an Oedipal complex, and you're creating this jealousy between. Think about this. The Oedipal complex it basically says that if you're a boy, you're sexually attracted to your mother, and because you're sexually attracted to your mother, therefore you have a aggression of wanting to kill your father, but you're afraid that if your father finds out that you want to date your mother, that your father's going to chop off your penis, and that causes even more phobia. This is something that's been talked about for years, and I think a lot of psychologists push it on people, and it's also pushed out in social media and common media. It needs to go away. It needs to go away. It needs to be a fringe part of psychology. A better way of thinking about psychology would be like Jungian theory, symbology, and religion. Religion would be actually a far better replacement for fucking psychology, okay? Psychology, the more that believe me, I've read quite a bit about psychology. I've read all these books about the denial of death and, oh my God, all these different perspectives on phobias and this and that. Honestly, the best psychology is being a Christian or being Jewish and having faith and loving life and loving the fellow human beings and learning the lessons from religion, from the Bible, or whatever you want to do it. You don't have to be a denomination. I'm not telling you what denomination to be, but to have the desire to be a better person and study, old biblical texts and finding, a preacher, a pastor, a group of people that are trying to be better, like in a church where you all can come together and pray and find goodness in life. That's far better than seeing a fucking psychiatrist. I'm going to just be honest with you. They're there to tell you, oh, how do you feel? Do you have these feelings about your father? Are you angry at your father because he fucked your mom or whatever? Like, they just say weird shit and you're just like, yes, I had that thought one time. Okay. It doesn't need to be the focal point of your whole fucking basis of personality. Are you conditioned? Yes. Should you learn about psychology and NLP and hypnosis and all these things that have been used against you? Yes. Freud, just, I used to be super into Freud because it was so esoteric. And oh my god, the coronavirus, Freud, and the Oedipal complex. It's fucking stupid, dude. And the biggest problem I have with it is the sexualizing of kids. Because his brother was a pedophile. His brother fucked kids. Yes, later on, the later version of Freud, whatever his fucking name is, he was a known pedophile. Who knows if Sigmund Freud was a pedophile too? I'm not here to take fucking lessons from a guy who's a pedophile, okay? And it makes sense the more that I've learned about the grooming and the sexualizing of children, the motivation of people to go and, push this agenda out to make it easier for pedophiles, and it's just this fucking sick thing that goes on. The more that I see how that would fit in, into pop psychology about how, we sexualize the children. If you want to learn a good form of psychology that I think is helpful, learn about learn transactional analysis. That's a really good one. Or game theory by what is his name? Eric Burns. I think it's his name, Eric Burns. Transactional analysis. Games people play. Games alcoholics play is another really good one. It's not about alcoholism. It's just about the way people interact and psychology. And I find those to be, there's another one that's really good, transactional analysis, called I'm Okay, You're Okay. Love that book. Amazing book. They call it pop psychology. Like, that's supposed to be a bad thing, that the masses understand psychology and multiple, personality states and ego states and all this fucking weirdo, occultist shit. You should still learn about it. I think that it is, if you're trying to understand psychology from a clinical perspective, it might be good to learn that. That's a good one. But the Freud stuff, fuck that guy, man. That guy, if your brother's fucking kids, I'm not blaming you, Sigmund Freud, for what his brother did, because that's not fair. But at the same time, kind of seeing a pattern there. You're talking about, kids' sexuality. It's just constant obsession with that. It's like, when you take a shit, you feel pleasure. So that's like a pleasure center, and your penis is a pleasure center. And like, children are obsessed with the pleasure. It's just, no, that's your weird projection on the kids. The kids, yes, all right, that's like a fucking portion of it, but that's like the center of his whole thing. No, I disagree with that very much. So, yeah, that's about it. Merry Christmas, guys. Remember to sign up. Just kidding around. Sign up at my blog, please, because they're going to ban me for talking about real things. I know YouTube is run by liberals, so they only want to hear about Orange Man bad and having some weird sanitized version of information that's bullshit, like 1984. I'm not down with that. Sign up at my blog and I'll give you my real information. I'm going to hopefully eventually move my videos onto some private server or some shit. And that's it, guys. Hope you guys have a great day. If you're interested in supporting me, I have a great product for $150. I have great online coaching, which is very affordable. And then I do boot camps. I have one coming up in about a month. That's more expensive, obviously, because it's 4 days and 4 nights together. And, yeah. All right, guys. Hope you guys have a great day. Talk to you soon.